Go live. It is. We are live. It is August 17th, big day. Monday, August 17th, big day for us. I'm excited. Football, NFL teams are starting camp today. I'm not sure how that's going to work. It's going to be weird. Not as weird as baseball, basketball, and hockey, but it's going to be weird. Coaches with masks on and all kinds of, new rules. Are they still allowed to huddle up, by the way? Doesn't that seem awfully dangerous, huddling up?
It's true.
That's not dangerous. By the way, your old stomping grounds. How do you not start off Patriots Monday without Cam Newton? Like, how is Cam Newton not on today?
It's a good question.
Like, if you guys would have demanded that, I assume
we would have demanded it. Yes, we would have demanded it. At times, like when Brady got hurt, and they tried to not let us talk to Jimmy G. They gave us, the offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. We were demanding Jimmy G. I think we had Jimmy G once or twice while Brady was out. I don't know. It's a good question. They don't have Cam Newton. It's probably their only hope of salvaging the summer, but that's just too bad. I feel bad. I feel awful for them. But maybe August will be worse than July, because July was worse than June, and June was pretty freaking bad.
I don't know. I think, and I don't mean to shit on him, but I think Brian Hoyer can bring the ratings. Maybe he'll say the electric this morning, and he can bring it.
I would rather have Turtleboy. Turtleboy breaks stories, and I need him to break one for me before we get to football and before we get to the Democratic National Convention, which I don't think you can call it that. If nobody's there, if everybody's home, it's really not a convention. You're not convening. But Turtleboy, I got a quick question for you. Can you find out how Robert Trump died for me? Can you find out cause of death? Because
I know they want it to be COVID, right? They want it to be COVID.
I can't find it. I know that, and I'm sure the sleuths at the New York Times, the ones with the nose rings in their hair, their pink and green hair, who are spending the weekend, at Black Lives Matter rallies, looting businesses in New York City, destroying the city. I don't know if you saw that video. Someone put together about a minute and a half video of New York City. You don't even appreciate the damage that was done. The city is boarded up. The whole city is boarded up. People are not just moving out; they're closing their stores and closing their restaurants and never coming back. Black Lives Matter and Antifa destroyed our biggest city, and property values have plummeted. Millionaires and billionaires have left. It is a disaster.
Bill de Blasio destroyed the city by allowing this nonsense to happen.
Well, isn't he not a big Black Lives Matter? He painted Black Lives Matter in the street, and wouldn't allow the tribute to 9/11 to the fallen heroes of 9/11. He canceled that. It's back on.
Because there's a couple hundred cops died on 9/11. So
was it? I don't even remember. Yeah, it's some people did something, according to
that's true.
Some people did something, but de Blasio canceled the lighting. It's just two lights essentially, and they read the names. It's not like a huge crowd of people gathering in the streets to protest and against violence against Black trans women, which de Blasio blessed.
I know.
De Blasio himself went out and painted the street with Al Sharpton and was shoulder to shoulder with Sharpton. And then he says, we can't have this tribute to the heroes of 9/11. Now, Cuomo stepped in and said, no, we're going to have it anyway. And God bless Janice Dean, the weather woman on Fox, who has become the spokesman for all the seniors, the 6,000 plus seniors that Cuomo murdered. She lost her in-laws, so she calls him out at every turn. And she said, what a phony. He had nothing to do with this. It was just the cops and the firemen and the people who demanded they put those lights on and read the names. And they're going to do it, but against de Blasio's wishes, because he doesn't give a damn about firefighters or cops or the victims of 9/11. He cares about Black lives.
Thinking how those lights are like a symbol of bravery. Like, they ran into buildings that were on fire and could collapse at any moment. The amount of balls and bravery that takes is just so out of this world. It's hard to comprehend. And now we can't do it because the cops and firefighters are afraid of commie cold. Like, that's so insulting to them.
And that's a good point. And they didn't skip work. They didn't take 5 months off paid like so many bureaucrats and teachers did. It's now more than ever. You need this tribute, and again, it's not dangerous. I mean, it's not nearly as dangerous as protest. They just light these things up and they read the names, and you can social distance and limit the crowd and all that. It's a visual more than anything. But you are right. They are hoping all Black Lives Matter, de Blasio, and the media, and the Washington Post, New York Times, they're all one big cabal at this point, are praying. Well, they don't pray. They're hoping that Robert Trump died of coronavirus. But we don't know. There's a lot of stories, and God knows over the weekend, it kind of snuck up. You heard one day that Trump was visiting his brother in New York because he was in bad shape, and the next day he was gone. And there were, the usual, the vile people on the left started tweeting hashtag wrong Trump, and gloating and enjoying the fact that the president was in mourning. But I can't find out how he died. I can't. It's nowhere. I mean, I know they're trying. They're praying that it's COVID, but does that mean it is? Because
doesn't matter what he died from. It's COVID anyway, Jerry. In case
that's
you don't
true.
know.
That's true. But
doesn't matter.
He was in a New York hospital, which means Cuomo probably had him rooming with a COVID patient. So, will we find out? I mean, they must be doing everything they can to find out. The New York Times and the Washington Post, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would. Yeah, I'm sure they're really. I'm sure if it was like he died of cancer or something like that, or a heart disease, they'd really be interested in that. And not basically, they probably know, and they're just looking like, did he ever have it? Did he test for the antibodies? Is there anything we could put on him that he had it at one time?
Yeah, did he have a mask on when he died? There was a story. There was no picture, but there was a story that Trump went to that hospital to visit him and wore a mask. It's like, and I guess, snuck in the back way. They couldn't get a picture, but of course he wore a mask. He was in a hospital. The mask thing is so stupid at this point. I took a picture. I should tweet it out the other day of two kayakers in the ocean with masks on. And I just laughed out loud. I took out my phone, took a picture, and just said, What do you think is happening? Do you think the little particles of the virus are floating through the ocean air, the wind, the sun, and going to end up like going up your nose, and you're wearing a mask while you're kayaking in the ocean?
It could happen.
Was that a married couple in your estimation?
There were a couple. Yeah, it was a man and a woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So then you can confirm that they wear a mask having sex, but that's cool. We should have one confirmed case.
And tonight, I want to get to.
Can we just talk for real quick about that? I think sex is the most underrated part about COVID going down. Like, at no point were we ever told, like, stop having sex with strangers, stop going on Tinder, stop doing that, which seems odd because you're literally like sucking face. There's a lot of that involved in it, as well as other things, obviously. It was never really brought up. And when college comes back, like my brother was at it in South Bend the other day, Notre Dame kids are back on campus. He's like, there was a huge party there, 200 kids. You can't tell college kids not to get together and party. And you're especially not going to tell them not to have sex.
Well, Fauci came out and said you can encourage people to still go on Tinder or Grindr and have a good time. He did that in like April.
We talked about that a little bit on this show because New York sent out their guidelines, and one of which is, let's see, you are your safest sex partner. Masturbation will not spread COVID-19. I'm glad that's confirmed.
That's right.
That's what
that was true before COVID.
So you don't have to wear a mask while masturbating. That is good to know.
Imagine that. I guarantee you out there's somebody who wears a mask while punching the clown. Trust me. Somebody's doing that.
Well, if you're going to wear a mask kayaking or bike riding, by yourself, I just laugh at people when I see them on bike riding or I've seen them on the beach too, walking the beach. And it's windy and sunny, and it's the beach, and they're wearing masks. I'm going, you really think that's necessary? But what? And I saw my first golfer with a mask on the other day. Someone playing golf wearing a mask, and I'm thinking, you got to be kidding. But God bless him. Good, go nuts. We're going to see a lot of that, hear a lot of that beginning tonight with the Democratic National Convention. I want to get into that, but first, the start of football, because you brought up college. And this still amazes me. We talked about it last week, and it's still a huge issue because some conferences are going full steam ahead, and others are canceling football. And it seems like, I know there's no, commissioner per se, there's an NCAA, but there's no commissioner, one guy making the call.
There's a commissioner for each conference, and the commissioner for the Big Ten, his son plays in the SEC.
Right. He plays at Mississippi State, correct?
Yeah.
And he said he has no problem with his son playing, but that they cancel the Big Ten. And because they canceled the Big Ten and not the Big 12 or any other conference, you have things like Iowa can't play, Iowa State can play, Indiana can't play, Notre Dame can play, Purdue can't play.
UMass can't play, Boston College can.
UMass can't play, UConn can't, or decided not to play, and BC can play because the ACC is playing. And it boils down to this, and I know I've talked about it a lot. This is, Clay Travis has been talking and tweeting about this. Think of the illogic, I won't say insanity because, there's better examples of insanity, and we're going to get to Ayanna Pressley. We will get to my Congresswoman, Ringo, but kids are going back to school. They're back there already. You pointed out Notre Dame's there. My son's going back in a couple of days. Kids are going back to school. That means they're going to class. They get to go to the gym. They're athletes. They're going to go to the gym. They're going to play pickup basketball. They're going to go to parties. They're going to sit in the halls of their dorms or in the little common area of their dorms and talk about whatever, politics, sports, and religion and whatever else they talk about. So they're going to gather together everywhere. They're just not allowed to gather together on the football field. What are you laughing about?
I'm just picturing what you think what happens in college. You think this is like the Joy Luck Club, bunch of kids sitting in the dormitories talking politics?
Or talking music, whatever you want. They're going to be sitting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, what are they talking about? I don't
want to interrupt. Go ahead.
What are they talking about? They're talking about, did you hear?
Talking about where we're getting Keystone Light today.
WAP. They're going to talk about WAP.
They're going to talk about WAP. They might talk about WAP or Snapface or whatever. I don't think they're talking. Not many, like this idea that college campuses are all politicized. That's what we see, obviously, in the news. The most people going to college are just there to drink beer and party at the end of the day, Jerry.
I disagree. They're there for one thing above all others, as always, to stop Trump, to stop the evil orange man. That is one thing 98% of college kids have in common. They hate Trump. Oh, they're stupid. And Kamala Harris was right about one thing. She said people between 18 and 24 are stupid. And they are easily led, and they're easily indoctrinated, and they have not just professors who are trying to indoctrinate them, they have fellow students. So do you think you could wear a hat like you have on right now on campus, like at UMass right now? Could you wear that hat?
There's like most people, I bet you the majority of 18-year-olds on campus are not going to vote. And because they don't care, because they have better, like when you're 18, you have better things on your mind than politics. Like you're free for the first time. You can party. There's chicks everywhere. All of my friends that went to UMass, none of them in college gave a shit about politics. Probably none of them voted. Now they're all politically aligned because they have jobs and there's actually things on the line that matter. College is just a fantasy world where you just go there.
No question, but
losers that protest and stuff like that. But that's not the majority of people in college.
Yes, but there'll be rallies. I guarantee the day. Well, UMass is not gathering, but the day they gather at, I don't know, whatever college, there'll be, Black Lives Matter rallies. And I'm not saying guys won't go to those rallies just to, try to pick up chicks or just to, have a good,
You wouldn't go to one of those. Have you seen the chicks that go to these rallies?
I went to UMass. That's what they had every day. There was some rally for something. Most of it when I was there was about hating Reagan, kind of like now is about hating Trump. We used to talk politics all the time while, getting drunk, smoking weed, whatever. You'd sit there and it'd be 1 on 20. I'd be defending and supporting Reagan, and then I'll be celebrating when he got shot. They cheered when he got shot out at UMass. That's how crazy the place was. And if this were Donald Trump and not Robert Trump who died, they would be celebrating on college campuses. They would be celebrating on Joy Reid tonight.
Well, until they figured out that Mike Pence was the president.
Right. No, they don't care. I swear to God, the vice president could be freaking Jerry Falwell right now. They don't care. They hate Trump so much. It's all that matters. I mean, the latest is this insane conspiracy theory about the post office and how and people otherwise kind of normal, reasonable people like Rex Chapman on Twitter, a guy who's everybody's favorite follow because he has all these dog videos and silly videos about, people with their family, coming home from the war or something, or coming home from Iraq or whatever, hugging their family, that kind of thing. He's gone full moonbat now, and he's tweeting out pictures of mailboxes that are like locked, or mailboxes that were removed, saying Trump is ordering mailboxes locked. It's nuts, but Taylor Swift has bought in, and
it's funny. The Taylor Swift tweet about it that got so much attention. So somebody sent it to me. It's
it's not her.
What was that?
Read it. It's not her. Someone else is writing her tweets. And
whoever's writing, whatever. So right. My local school district, the athletic department, they liked that tweet. So it's like schools are, really? They're not hiding their politics when around. Like my local freaking school department that's not going back to school is liking Taylor Swift conspiracy theories about the freaking mailbox, whatever conspiracy that Trump's involved in. If it was anybody on the right doing this, they'd be banned from Twitter.
I'm going to get it. It's something, there is something going on here. It's Taylor Swift being used by somebody, and she's obviously, she's a good songwriter and a performer and all that, I guess, but she's lost her mind. It's about this Trump. And by the way, the mailboxes that you keep seeing that have been moved are like in New York or California. I mean, how is Trump going to steal the election by removing mailboxes in California where he has no chance to win anyway?
Like, what happens if a mail truck flips over? I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong with this. Even Fauci saying show up and vote. Anybody can vote. I feel like obviously all you need to know is the Democrats want mail-in voting. So that tells me everything I need to know.
She writes, Taylor Swift writes, Donald Trump's ineffective leadership gravely worsened the crisis that we are in, and he is now taking advantage of it to subvert and destroy our right to vote and vote safely. Request a ballot early, vote early. This is Taylor Swift. I mean, sing me a song.
She also
about Tim
campaigned
McGraw.
against Marsha Blackburn. Like, these people aren't nearly as influential as they think they are.
That's true. She did. She lost that one, and she's gonna hopefully she's gonna lose this one. But they protested outside the Postmaster General's house on Saturday. They marched in the street for the right to not show up and vote. Like, these are people so energized that they'll go to someone's house on a Saturday morning, with the bullhorn and have a protest. Then they will march in the street demanding mail-in voting. Well, why can't you do the same thing on November 3rd that you're doing now? Like, get your ass out of bed and go vote. That should be the only answer to these fools. Everybody knows mail-in voting is designed to steal the election, to facilitate fraud. Everybody knows it. They know it. They know it's not about being safe, and avoiding the virus. They know you could get an absentee ballot if you wanted to, but that takes a little effort. This is about getting thousands of dead people or otherwise lazy people to just sign their ballot and hand it to some Democrat operative to deliver bundles of them to the polling place. But anyway, you got me sidetracked there. The college kids can do everything but play football. It makes no sense at all. It makes no sense. And they're going to play, like I said, pick up basketball. They're going to practice.
The Big Ten schools are offering intramurals, Jerry.
Right.
They're not canceling intramural season, which like two-hand touch football. Like, are you kidding me?
Two-hand touch with, no trainers and no protocols and no guidelines, just kids going out there and playing ball.
Some influential people are fighting back though, like the McCaffrey parents, like the McCaffrey brothers, the quarterback for Michigan. They're writing letters. Like the Iowa moms put out a letter. The Penn State moms put out a letter. They're all going to start doing it. I mean, if this is just so egregious. This guy Kevin Warren is looking for a bigger thing. He wants a bigger job out of this, so he does not want blood on his hands. This entire whole COVID thing is nothing more than one cover your ass after another.
Well, it's cover your ass and stop Trump. That's two things.
Right. That's why it's like, who showed leadership in this whole thing? People like Ron DeSantis and Brian Kemp, who just said, I don't care if this is a risk I'm taking, but I'm opening up, period.
And they knew the media would lie about them and say, what was Georgia? according to the New York Times, an experiment in human sacrifice. That's what they said when Brian Kemp allowed people to get haircuts. They said it was an experiment in human sacrifice. They were wrong. He was right. DeSantis was right. Cuomo was wrong. But if you're Cuomo, the media is totally in the bag, in your back pocket. They will lie even about you killing people. I mean, he has killed thousands of seniors by his directive on March 25th, but he knows the media has his back. Doesn't matter. But here's obviously the media is hoping now that the whole football thing, college football thing and pro, blows up and there's a spread and there's someone that dies and a coach gets it and dies. And that's what they're hoping. If you're Chris Cuomo or Don Lemon or Brian Steltner or whoever, the crazy pink-haired lady at the New York Times, you're hoping as always, you're rooting for the virus. You are rooting for the virus and against the evil orange man in the White House. But today, the NFL starts, and college football, they're playing, they're practicing, and if it works out, like say the NHL has worked out so far, the NHL, they tested 18,000 people and had zero.
Except for Tuca left.
That's true.
I mean, our goalie abandoned us in the middle of a playoff run.
He didn't test positive. He just left
because he's got a kid at home. That's why
he's so dumb. The media loves that. Say, he cares about his family. Well, everybody cares about their family.
That's the purpose of the bubble. Is like you all signed up to leave your family for a little bit. You're making a lot of money.
Right. It's what you signed up for.
If he has a newborn at home in a normal professional setting, he'd see his family and his kid. He had to basically.
He was overseas, Colin. What if he was every soldier overseas whose wife gives birth while they're gone? What happens?
Was this a surprise? Did Tuca not know that there would be more than 2 games? Was he surprised? Oh man, we're still playing. I got to go.
No, I think he's
newborn at home. I love that reasoning. Like I got a newborn at home. I have kids at home.
Felger. No, what was that whole Felger thing with no paternity leave or whatever? What was his whole?
No, Felger was right about that, and that's why Felger can be good at that. So I'm looking forward to edgy Felger today. Hopefully, he actually calls Tuca out for this because
please.
Enough of this kid loves
so edgy. Calling out Tuca for leaving. I mean, you just did it.
It's also fucking stupid. I mean, I'm into it now because Tuca left, but he was right. It's not a playoff atmosphere. There's nothing real about what's going on. You should put an asterisk next to whoever wins the Stanley Cup, even though they're all on equal footing. It just feels fucking phony. He said it 4 days ago, and now he's just probably over it, and he's like, screw it. I'm leaving my family for this. Fuck this. Screw this.
But that's his job. What
do you mean for this? Yeah, what's he leaving for? A playoff run? A run at the Stanley Cup?
That's playoff run where he's not making any money. There's no atmosphere. It's not really the playoffs. He's just probably saying, fuck it. I should be.
It is.
He got built up anxiety.
There's a Stanley Cup at the end of it, isn't there?
There's
you have a chance
with asterisks.
The thing is, he did it in the middle of the series. If he did it before the series and said, "I have a newborn, I don't want to," that's one thing. But lose a game and just say, "I'm out of here," is.
Have you ever made a decision that you weren't comfortable with, and then you got into it, and you're like, "Fuck, I'm in a predicament that it's not good." He's building up anxiety, and then finally he just couldn't.
Building up anxiety. He's a professional goaltender. Their life is dealing with anxiety.
Yeah, what do you think every single playoff game is when they're shooting pucks at you? What is that?
I don't know. Halak didn't look like he had anxiety. Number one.
What happens if the Bruins win the Stanley Cup this year?
I don't think he's back regardless, but.
Well, why not?
I just think the city. I don't know. I mean, I guess he's under contract for 1 year, so maybe he's back. But if we want a Stanley Cup with another goalie, how do you not keep that other goalie?
Yeah, that's you'd have a Tom Brady situation.
Correct. So
I mean, that's literally what Bledsoe made it all the way, couldn't win the whole thing, and then the next kick. Is Halak old though? I don't even know much about him.
No, he's been in the league. I want to say 6-7 years.
So he's Brian Hoyt.
Look that up.
Yeah. I should.
Yeah. And Tuca will just become this tedious talk show topic until next year, and they're not going to win the Stanley Cup. But if they did, he would be gone. You're right, he'd be gone, and obviously Halak would have to play pretty damn well if they're going to win the Stanley Cup. Correct? He's got 1 game in the books. Good one.
But the Bruins, it's all going to be about Pasternak coming back and stuff. We don't need to get into the.
I mean, at least with Andrew Luck, Andrew Luck did it right before a preseason game, whatever. At least he had quarterbacks get their brains turn to mush. A lot of their kids have problems. Like there's a lot of long-term consequences of playing in the NFL. Tuca's hiding from commie cold. What?
No, he isn't.
Let's let it play out. Let's see if there's more to it. There's more to the story. Let's let it play.
Let's just hope it's COVID related, because we need to sow the seeds of fear and chaos. And that's
when you're done with this, Turtleboy, take a little break, and then at 10 o'clock, go listen to Dale and Keefe, because Dale is the guy who's on this story. So that you can get your.
I saw you tweeting about this, Dave. What did Dale do? He was texting with Tuca.
Yeah, because Dale did the pregame show before, right? So he texted Tuca. I think he's writing a book. Jimmy Stewart tweeted over the weekend, and he has direct access to Tuca. And Tuca said it was a family emergency. It's under control, but he just didn't feel right being there. And then Dale yesterday said that a former Bruin who's best friends with Tuca messaged him and said, I would have left too if I were Tuca. So maybe there's more to the story there.
Now, you're right. If we find out his newborn is, in intensive care or something, yes. Okay. We'll find out more, and you'll feel like an idiot for criticizing him, Turtleboy.
Yeah.
But
and by the way, Halak is 35.
Halak's 35 years old.
Wow, he's at risk.
Holy shit! I didn't know that. Jesus.
He's literally Hoyer. He's like a guy who's been around a long time. He's a backup for a reason, I'm assuming. If he goes on a run, how old was Tim Thomas when he got good?
I
don't know. We'll look it up.
Late 30s, I think. Yeah. Hold on.
Back to football. Back to football.
Okay, back to football.
Get back to football, because football is all that matters. Hockey's
there's two playoff games. The Celtics and the Bruins both have a playoff game today, Jerry.
Hockey, basketball, baseball. Well, baseball. We don't have baseball in New England this year, which is fine with me. But hockey and basketball are doing their best with the cardboard cutouts and the pictures of people and no fans and no buzz and no energy. But that all changes today, because football begins. NFL football begins, and college football is. You point out the players are rising up. Justin Fields started a petition that has like 50,000 signatures to get to play. It feels like they may change their mind in the Big Ten. It really does. But hopefully they do. They have plenty of time. They don't have any preseason. They never have preseason. And it's just football,
They're still practicing, I'm sure.
Right. They're practicing. They could play tomorrow. It's all about, beating the other guys. It's not, you don't have to be perfect. Everyone's playing with the same, restrictions. But anyway, Donald Trump, not Robert Trump. Robert Trump passed away, and it was a sad day for the Trump family, a sad weekend. It was a wonderful day for the crazies on Twitter and from the left, who were celebrating a death in Trump's family and tweeting out "wrong Trump" and saying, the Grim Reaper made a mistake. He took the wrong Trump. All kinds of classy stuff on Twitter. But Donald went on with Eric Bolling, former Fox News guy, now with Sinclair, and he kind of surprised me. He said that he went after Roger Goodell for two things. For doing an interview in June, I believe, while wearing a T-shirt. He said he should have had a suit and tie on, which I had to go back and look at the video. I forgot. Goodell had like this tight T-shirt. You can like see his nipples. And he was talking about how they've come a long way and now they understand. And he was apologizing for the indifference toward Colin Kaepernick 3 years ago and saying they're going to allow people to kneel. That's the day I said that Goodell would kneel. Everyone's going to kneel. I believe on day one, Drew Brees is going to kneel. Brady's going to kneel. Everybody's going to kneel. Goodell's going to kneel while holding, a couple of black retired guys. I don't know, like Jerry Rice and Lawrence Taylor or something will be with him, and they'll all kneel. But he went on, and I forgot that. I don't know if you remember that interview in June or even May. It was a long time ago. And Trump went back to that and ripped Goodell for wearing a T-shirt and for allowing players to kneel, and said that's going to kill football.
That's like probably his number one issue. More than the wall, more than anything, is like NFL players kneeling during it. He doesn't care about anything as much as he cares about that.
I think it's a mistake. And he was right the first time 3 years ago. The ratings went down. There was some backlash. They did it a couple times, and then they kind of abandoned it, other than, Eric Reed.
It could have
couple of
worked in June because back like it was a different culture in June. Like this was when it was like like we've never seen a culture like we had in June when everybody was on Black Lives Matter. I feel like it's worn off. A lot of the suburban housewives in Wilmington and Burlington and stuff like that, they're looking at the Black Lives Matter sign in their yard and they're thinking to themselves, how long do I have to keep this up for? Like how it's worn off. It's
Plus, they see the violence. The people are reading up and seeing, the Black Lives Matter is a Marxist organization that wants to defund the police and open the borders.
Well, I mean, they're back to COVID. They're back to that's their new issues. They're back to COVID. They're over Black Lives Matter, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, and even the crazy, suburban left-wing moms know that their kids have to go back to school. That's a winning issue for Trump. I'm not sure this is. He says he's not going to watch if they kneel. Well, I think they're going to kneel, and I think people are going to watch. I think he's wrong about that. I think people understand that, Kaepernick has won the battle, and there's going to be kneeling, but there's also going to be football, which people are excited about. So they will watch, even if, at least in week 1, everybody kneels. Let's hear from.
There's no more live anthem either.
There's no anthem?
Yeah, that's what didn't I read that? There's no more live anthem?
I did not hear that. Is that true?
They're not having police honor guards either or anything like that. I think they're just going to play something.
Oh, they're playing the black national anthem too, remember? I think they're playing the regular one. And no one even knows what it is, but there's a black national.
I didn't know there's a black country. There's like there's a black country. That's not a national anthem. It's a country. What country are they?
It's a good point, but can we hear from Donald Trump with Eric Bowling on the NFL?
They're also young, strong people. If they would get hit, they're going to be fine. They're going to be great. But they won't even get hit. But if they did, they'll be just fine. Play football.
What about the NFL?
Well, you have to understand, I'm mixed in one sense. I want them to play. I'm with them all the way. We've helped them. We've gone all out for them. But if I see them not standing and saluting and standing and really respecting our American flag, if I see them not standing for our national anthem, I won't be watching. And you know what? A lot of other people agree with me.
Where did you ever think you'd be sitting in a chair as president of the United States saying, you better stand for the national anthem, you better respect your flag?
No, and I thought we won this battle. I had this battle 2 years ago with the NFL, and their ratings went down 25%. Their crowds stopped coming. I mean, they had empty seats all over the place. I thought this was over. And then Roger Goodell from his basement, like Biden, in a blue T-shirt as opposed to a suit. He looks much more handsome in a suit. But Roger Goodell got out and made the statement in August or July, out of nowhere, talking about this whole thing that he's doing. He's going to kill football. People aren't going to watch. You know what? If I see people kneeling during our national anthem, if I see people not respecting our country, which is represented by our flag, I will not watch a game. I don't have that kind of interest that I'm going to watch a game. A lot of other people will agree with me. And I had this out with him once before, and we won. And they went back, and you had to stand. And in their contracts, they have to stand with their hand on their heart. I don't know if you know that. They have contracts where you stand with, they never wanted to invoke the contract, but they have language in there where you have to stand. They never wanted to invoke it. If they don't stand for our national anthem and respect our flag and our country, there's plenty of places they can protest. They can go anywhere they want. They can go after the game. They can go before the game, but they can't protest during our national anthem. They make millions and millions of dollars. They've got a great life. Think of it. They make millions of dollars to play a sport. They made
How long are you listening to this?
Yeah, we can turn it off.
He's right. He's right about all that, except he's wrong about people won't watch. They're gonna be disgusted when everyone's kneeling.
Like this makes me want to do it more, right? Like picture them ever giving like this. The fact that Trump doesn't want them to do it will obviously make them want to do it more. Does he know that?
Yes. Well, no, he doesn't. I think he's misreading the room on this one. Not that it matters. The kneelers, they all hate him. Even, Tom Brady doesn't like him anymore. And, most everyone except Jack Del Rio, he's the only guy in the NFL, an assistant coach who tells people he loves Trump and they can kiss his ass if they disagree. But I think, maybe ratings slip a little bit, but I don't think right now, I don't think. People are going to not watch. People are going to not watch when
it might
Nope.
slip, but it won't because of that. It'll because the stadiums aren't filled. It's just it's not the same product when the stadiums aren't filled. It's not.
but they're promising to have fans, not full houses, but have 10, 12, 14,000 fans, which will be interesting. That will obviously, the panic porn purveyors will say that the NFL is killing people by having fans. I think that people will watch. The product won't be as good. You're right, because of whatever restrictions, because of no fans, because of whatever, no preseason. There will be something missing, but the fans will watch. The ratings will be good, be much better than basketball ratings are in the toilet. Baseball ratings are in the toilet. Tucker Carlson and Hannity are killing the NBA in the ratings, which is no surprise to me.
That upset Mark.
But I think football is different. As always, football is different. Football is bigger. Football is better. Football is something people genuinely miss. They will have, and they won't be nearly as in your face. I mean, let's be honest. The NBA has Black Lives Matter written on the court, and they have, silly ass slogans like economic justice or whatever written on their uniform. What was Gordon Hayward's? Oh, education reform. What a wild man. Education
going
reform.
back to school, is that part of education reform, opening the schools?
That's a good question. But the NFL has changed, though. As you recall, 4 years ago, the 5 cops were murdered by a Black Lives Matter supporter in Dallas. The Cowboys wanted to honor them with a sticker. The league said no. Now they're going to have names of people who've died at the hands of police. I assume all African Americans. Breonna Taylor will be number 1 on the list.
You see Daniel Shaver on there.
You will not see Daniel Shaver. You won't see Cannon Hinnant on there, the 5-year-old white kid murdered by his black neighbor, who was totally ignored until
So Matt Walsh started a hashtag.
Matt Walsh and we. Yeah, I'm taking some credit, and we brought it to people's attention, and now
Don't sell yourself short.
people know who he is, which is a good thing. But I think people will roll their eyes at some of the social justice stuff that NFL players do and say, but then they'll sit their ass down and watch because it's the NFL. And Trump overplaying his hand on this one because people are still going to watch even if they kneel. And Goodell is going to pander his ass off just like he did in June. He's going to continue to pander to the to the Eric Reeds and not Kaepernick. I mean, hell, maybe Kaepernick will show up and flip the coin or something, just because he's such a big deal and everyone was so wrong about him.
Now, I'm sure you didn't see this because who would ever watch soccer, but the MLS teams are being booed. Nashville and Dallas, I guess the other day, they were all kneeling and people started booing and started chanting USA. Granted, that's a southern city, but I think there isn't a stadium in this country. I've said this before, no matter how, Seattle, Foxborough, doesn't matter. There isn't a single NFL stadium in which if you polled the majority of fans, they wouldn't be majority Trump supporters. It doesn't matter. The NFL has the most conservative fan base. You're gonna upset them.
Well, besides NASCAR, who
they pretended to be woke for a day. They went along with it, and
that's right. The Bubba Wallace thing. They all pretended to believe him, and pretended it was.
And they're like, never again.
A hate crime. Bubba Wallace? I saw an article. He's still cashing in. He's got all kinds of endorsements. He doesn't win. He's not like a good driver, but he's making money, and he is. He's winning. He's winning. In the endorsement deals. But football today begins. We're looking forward to the Brian Hoyer show. Very excited here in New England. College football begins soon. It's less than football begins September 13th in the NFL. How long is that? 2, 3?
It was 4 weeks from yesterday.
4 weeks from yesterday, we'll all be watching. But tonight, not today. They practice. NFL practices, and tonight, big night for us political junkies. The Democratic Convention, which isn't really a convention, commences. It was supposed to be in Milwaukee. I guess it says mostly virtual, so that means some people are actually in Milwaukee, I guess, because it's mostly virtual. That means someone has to be live in Milwaukee. And we got the list of speakers. Very excited. John Kasich is going to speak tonight, the Republican. John Kasich, who everybody hates. Democrats hate him. Republicans hate him. He's going to make a speech tonight, and he's going to get like 10 times more time allotted to him than all 4 of the squad members combined. AOC, I believe, is the only squad member scheduled to speak. And did you see how much time they're giving AOC?
60 seconds, right?
They're giving her 1 minute.
They know. They know what a liability she is.
How can AOC even put a thought together in a minute? We've seen her.
How can she put it all together, period?
She's not a bright person, but they're limiting her speech. And by the way, if it's live, what if she goes off the board and just says, screw it, I'm going to keep talking? She's a rebel. Let's be honest. She's a rabble rouser and a demagogue. What if she stands up and says, I'm not leaving. I'm going to make this speech all about, the Green New Deal. And
Jerry, she'll probably get more viewers on Instagram Live just doing an update than she would speaking at the DNC anyway.
That's a good point. We'll get to the other member of the squad, my Congresswoman, Ringo, Ayanna Pressley, and the insane thing she said over the weekend. But tonight, we the big star tonight, besides Kasich, is Bill Clinton, I believe. Is that the kind of image you want to project if you're
Bill's tomorrow night.
Bill's tomorrow night? I thought I had tonight's schedule in front of me.
Tonight we got Bernie's on the agenda.
Oh, Bernie.
It's a Michelle Obama, I believe.
Oh, I see. I got it. Oh, Michelle. I'm sorry. Michelle Obama is the big star tonight.
Klobuchar.
Clinton tomorrow. Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, I was going to say we got Cuomo tonight too.
You got Gretchen Whitmer is on there.
That's unbelievable. Andrew Cuomo, the worst governor in the history of the United States, a guy with blood on his hands of 6,000 or more seniors. He gets to speak. AOC does not. And Ilhan Omar does not. Oh, Amy Klobuchar tonight. Doug Jones, that loser, who's gonna.
Yeah, see, he won't be in the Senate 6 months from now, so it doesn't matter.
Right. But Bernie's gonna come on and scream about whatever the existential threat of climate change and Medicare for all and all his crazy commie ideas. Will we hear in the next 4 nights? In the next, and I think it's like an hour that's going to be on network TV, something like that. Out of the 4 hours of speeches, will we hear anybody condemn Antifa or Black Lives Matter?
Oh God, no! Oh, are you kidding? Is that a joke? Is that a joke?
This is all Trump.
Antifa. That's a big part of their base, Jerry.
This is all Trump. All he should say, all Trump should say, and a surrogate should say right now is nobody in that party will condemn the violence of Antifa or Black Lives Matter. Nobody will condemn the effort to defund the police and open the borders and all the crazy objectives of Black Lives Matter. Nobody. I mean, they won't. It's incredible. Every night, and I've said this, I know you do the same thing. They're on to 80 nights, I believe, close to 80 nights in Portland of terrorizing that city, of burning. There's this video today.
George.
Last night, they beat up a couple of people. They knocked the guy unconscious in Portland, and then they kicked him while he was down, literally kicked him. There's video. Andy has tweeted it out. It's made the rounds. There's nobody you will see in the next 4 nights who will condemn that. I mean, I've said this all along. Everyone condemned George Floyd's death, right? Everyone condemned Derek Chauvin and the cops. Everybody, 100% of America, all 330 million people condemn that. There's only one side of the aisle that condemns the ensuing violence, the looting, the rioting, the burning. Democrats won't do it.
Well, here's the thing. So their official stance on this, Jerry, is that Antifa does not exist. It's got no central organization, stuff like that. So, right. And I agree with that. Let's just call it what it is. It's not Antifa. It's Black Lives Matter. This is all. Antifa is part of Black Lives Matter. Right. That's an actual organization that has brought in millions and millions of dollars and is supported by all of these politicians. So that's what he should stress, that this is what Black Lives Matter is inspiring. They're organizing this.
And Black Lives Matter is led in many ways by white liberals. I pointed this out in Seattle. Consider the insanity of what just happened in Seattle. The police chief quit. She quit her job. She was making $280,000, and they wanted to cut her pay by $100,000, and they wanted her to lay off 100 officers that she just hired, and she said no, and she quit. So consider what we're talking about. A bunch of white liberals demanded the black chief fire black officers because Black Lives Matter. Think of the madness that this is the kind of thing, you're right, Trump should be pointing out, his surrogate should be pointing this out. They don't want to condemn Antifa or Black Lives Matter because that's the militant wing of their party.
Those are the brown shirts. That's the
right. But we'll see. Maybe someone will maybe like Bill Clinton or some old guy will mildly say we have to stop the violence, but maybe not. It's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously, you and I will watch. You and I will pay close attention, but there will be such a sanitizing of the news this week. I mean, Biden is not going to leave his basement. Biden is not going to leave Delaware. Trump is going all over the place. You wanted rallies. They won't be big rallies, but he's being airplane hangars. He's going to like 4 states in the next 2 days, all over he's doing the swing, Michigan, Wisconsin swing, Ohio, and then he's going to Arizona. So Trump is trying to show that he's got the stamina, he's got the energy, he's not fearful, he's not afraid. Well, Biden is. It will be a clear distinction, but you won't really get much.
Jerry, he has to go to these things too, because let's not forget, if we lose the Senate, it doesn't really matter if you get the presidency that much, because suppose RBG croaks, which she won't make it through a second term of Trump. She won't make it. And so that would obviously be the fight of a lifetime if Trump was president. Be wild. And so if the Democrats have the Senate, then it's useless. I mean, it's useless. You saw what they did to Kavanaugh. That was with a minority. Like, picture what they would do with a majority. So like he's going to Arizona because that's a red seat that we're probably going to lose. We're going to lose in Colorado. There's a good chance we're going to lose a seat in North Carolina. Again, this is all going to come down to Susan Collins, and she's down in the polls right now. He needs to go to Maine and campaign for Susan. And let's not forget that iconic speech that she gave with Kavanaugh.
He will. I mean, he has to. You're right. He has to. It is frightening. And to think of what they did to Kavanaugh is the most despicable thing I've seen in my lifetime of following politics, of following these things. It was bad what they did to Clarence Thomas, with these repulsive Ted Kennedy and Joe Biden did to Clarence Thomas and to Robert Bork. I mean, that was bad. This was much, much worse. Everyone on that committee, every Democrat, including Kamala Harris, knew Kavanaugh was innocent. They knew it. And they went with this narrative, this made-up narrative, to try to not just kill his nomination, but to destroy his life.
Well, that's what I forget. They couldn't get him on sexual assault because there was nothing there. So they moved the goalpost to he's a raging alcoholic with a bad drinking problem, and he can't admit it. And we're going to use his high school yearbook to prove it. I mean, that's what Sheldon,
right. Yearbook, right.
From Rhode Island, whose son, by the way, got a DUI when he was 19. So I guess he's a rapist too, by Sheldon's logic. But it's like that's all they could do. And it's like they'll do. And that's with the minority, Jerry. With the majority, it's like it doesn't matter who Trump nominates. They're not getting it.
Well, first of all, he's going to get impeached, and convicted.
Well, they don't have 2/3.
But think of it. Think of what they did with the. Think of what they did in the last 3.5 years. They just made stuff up. I mean, Kavanaugh was totally made up. The Russian collusion, totally made up. The Ukraine impeachment, totally fabricated. I mean, they just made stuff up. That's going to continue into his, if he wins, into his second term. We're just going to have one crazy, hell, just look over the weekend. The post office is now colluding. The postmaster general is colluding with the president, according to the nuts on MSNBC and Taylor Swift and Rex Chapman and all these other left-wing lunatics who can't think straight when they think of Trump. So they go to the postmaster general's house because they think he's like throwing mailboxes away or locking them up because to stop mail-in voting. It's totally bizarre. It's totally made up, but that's the lengths, the depths they'll go to win this fight. It's going to get insane in the next term. Whoever wins, it's going to get insane.
They got a majority in the House. It was instantaneous impeachment. Like that, they've made it clear that this is what they will do when they get in. So you can forget about that. So like basically what I'm saying here is that the Senate is extremely important to win. Extremely. So like right now they got 53. They're going to get the Doug Jones seat. That's 54. So they can, if they win the presidency, then they can afford to lose 4 seats at most. And there's at least 4 or 5 seats up for grabs that are legitimate. Like we're losing them right now. So Trump needs to go to those states like North Carolina and Arizona and maybe even Colorado. I don't know if that one's gone for good, but like there's a one in Montana. Like Montana has 1 Democrat and 1 Republican senator. Well, they might have 2. Imagine Montana got 2 Democrats. That's like the polls are dead even there.
That's unbelievable. It is Montana. You can't lose Montana.
Yeah.
But he's out hitting the trail. Here's consider this possibility that a vaccine is on the horizon. How far will the Democrats and the media go to stop a vaccine, at least until November? If just say in October, we hear about one. The tests are done. It's working. It's about to go public. And I mean, you've seen how dirty these people fight. What will they do to keep it from hitting the market until the
election? Say it's a Russian vaccine. Right. Don't do it. It's like a witch doctor came up with it. They'll ban you from talking about it on Twitter.
That's true. Facebook, they'll take it down. Twitter, they'll take it down. They'll say, no, you can't mention it. It'll be insane. That's my prediction for the next crazy, left-wing conspiracy.
You got to give it to them, Jerry. And I respect one thing about the Democrats is they play to win, man. They play to win. You got to respect that. Republicans don't. They don't have any Mitt Romneys. Who's their Mitt Romney?
They don't. I mean, the closest thing, I guess Joe Manchin would be the closest thing, but no, they don't have it. Rip Mitt Romney, who, the guy marching with his Black Lives Matter friends. Can you imagine anybody in Black Lives Matter, liking Mitt? They just know he's a fool and a useful idiot, and they used him, and he got out in there in his white button-down shirt and his little mom jeans.
Oh God, I love
marched. I mean, they all hate him, but he's so quick to pander that he went out and marched with the enemy. But we'll get to the craziest congresswoman, my congresswoman, the one who's trying to out crazy her fellow squad mates. And she did a pretty good job over the weekend, but we'll talk about Ringo, Ayanna Presley, after I talk about Shea Concrete. Let me tell you, homeowners and home builders, my brother-in-law Greg and the folks at Shea have a huge selection of precast concrete steps. Whether you're building a new home or you need to replace an old staircase in an old home, Shea has great values with designs for your home available in concrete or customized with beautiful stone, granite, or brick. A new staircase can dramatically upgrade the front entrance of your home. They do all the work. You sit inside on a nice summer day, look out the window, and watch these guys do their thing. They can remove your old stairs and have you walking up your new front steps within hours. And within hours, your home will be worth more. It'll look better, and you don't do much. You just pick out the steps you want and let them do all the work. And just like that, your home is worth more. Learn more about Shea's precast concrete steps at sheaconcrete.com. And you can also look for a job there. If you're in the market, if you're looking for a new job, Shea is always hiring. They're always looking for CDL drivers. They're looking for personnel at all 4 of their plants. You can check out the openings at sheaconcrete.com, or you can just email your resume to jobs@sheaconcrete.com. All right. If there's one thing, and we asked earlier, would any Democrat in the next 4 nights, and I don't know how the total number of speakers is got to be 50, 60, 70. I mean, people like AOC get 1 minute. I guess that counts as a speech. What's she going to say in 1 minute?
Green New Deal.
She can't put a thought together. You've seen her rambling, babbling incoherently. That's going to be tough.
She plugs Ed Markey. That's what I'm really hoping for. Like something juicy like that. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that election turns out. We actually have 2 very interesting Senate elections here, Jerry.
We do.
Republican. I mean, Dr. Shiva.
There's no difference. There's no difference.
But it's entertaining. Oh, you trust me?
Shiva, no difference.
First of all, can I endorse Shiva? Vote over Shiva because he's the most entertaining person on the face of the earth. If he gets the nomination against, it doesn't matter who he's running against. It is going to be wild.
Good, but Markey or Kennedy, I'm rooting for Kennedy, which I can't believe I'm saying. I would never vote for him, but I can't stand Markey, and he's big Green New Deal guy. But whoever gets in, they will vote. I mean, there's no difference. They'll vote the exact same way for the next 6 years. There's no difference. Just like there's no difference in any of the squad members. You know, they're all lunatics. They all hate, Trump. They all hate the private sector. They all want to destroy. They all support the looting, the rioting. But you're not supposed to come out and say it. Ayanna Pressley, she is, we call her Ringo. Someone else called her, I know on Twitter, someone calls her Shemp, the fourth member of the squad and the least, I would say, the least renowned.
Yeah, she was the one they needed to fill in a foursome.
Right. She is a complete radical, just like AOC, just like Ilhan Omar. But at this point, I would say any swing voter, anyone in Middle America, anybody who at any of these swing states, these battleground states, who is considering like Trump or trying to decide between Trump and Biden, that person is not supporting Antifa, is not supporting looting and rioting. I mean, you got to be a real crazy left-wing, almost anarchist, in some cases a flat-out anarchist, but you got to be really radical to support what's going on in Portland and Seattle and, in New York and Chicago at this point.
I don't know, Jerry. I just
really done seeing small businesses destroyed. New York. I read a story over the weekend said New York as we knew it is gone and it will not recover in our lifetimes. There are so many, and Cuomo knows it, by the way. De Blasio doesn't, but Cuomo knows that there are so many people fleeing for two reasons, the fear of the violence, and they realize that they could work from somewhere else. They don't have to be in New York City, and property values are plummeting. I
think you're wrong. I think you're completely wrong, Jerry, about how it's the media. The media is framing the Portland protests. Not so like when people support the Portland anarchy, it's because CNN is telling them that these are peaceful protests and Trump's thugs are shooting tear gas at them for no reason. So that's what
Trump's thugs aren't even there anymore.
I know. But that's my point there is like the media has convinced your average idiot, suburban housewife that the Portland protesters are there for Black Lives Matter.
Well, I think just enough people have reached their breaking point, their boiling point, where they say, I'm done with this. I can't look at this anymore. I've mentioned this before. They're estimating 4,000 restaurants in Massachusetts will never recover. That's 1/4 of all restaurants. It's going to get more. It's going to be more, I think. 41% of small businesses in Maine have already gone bankrupt because of the overreaction of the governor up in Maine, and same in Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey. All states run by Democrats, including Massachusetts, are on the brink of bankruptcy. It's madness. At some point, you have to say, this has gone too far. And then you have my Congresswoman, Ayanna Pressley, go on, I think, with Joy Reid, but she was on MSNBC over the weekend. And you know what she was calling for? Civil unrest. She wants more violence, and she wants her supporters to target GOP officials, target Trump supporters. She wants that. And what did they do that day? I believe that day they went to the Postmaster General's house. But let's listen to Ringo talk about what she would like her supporters to do.
I'm looking to the public. This is as much about public outcry and organizing and mobilizing and applying pressure so that this GOP-led Senate and that these governors that continue to carry water for this administration, putting the American peoples in harm's way, turning a deaf ear to the needs of our families and our communities, hold them accountable. Well, make the phone call, send the email, show up. There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives. And unfortunately, there's plenty to go around.
That's not Joy Reid.
No, but that's her show, I think. Okay. Her former show. Now she got promoted to weeknights. But obviously, it's MSNBC. It's just, she's in the echo chamber of radicals, but it kind of went viral. And people are watching that going, wait a second, a congresswoman is calling for more unrest in the streets, and she wants them to target GOP officials. And the little subhead said Trump versus the Postal Service. Like they're selling this. I know it's what they do, but they're selling this insane conspiracy theory, and they're selling it to mostly stupid people who are going, oh yeah, Trump's taking away mailboxes out of New York City. Like he's got any chance to win the vote in New York City, in New York anyway, or California or New Jersey, which is where they're where they're talking about.
Why do they think this? Can you explain this to me? Wouldn't locking the mailboxes, like, so you can't put mail in? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, you can't mail your ballot, right?
Okay. I mean, couldn't any idiot just go, like, if I wanted to, if I knew it was like around election day, a lot of people couldn't I just go in there and throw paint inside the mailbox or something, like a paint bomb or something? Like, there's so much that could go wrong.
It's stupid. Everybody knows there's only one reason for mail-in voting. It's to steal the election. It's a good idea because they could take advantage of COVID, which is what they've been doing all along. And, Trump is fighting it for obvious reasons. He has to. I mean, it's an obligation to try and stop the fraud that's inevitable. But you have a congresswoman saying, let's target these people. And you're watching it and you're saying, wait a second, the restaurant down the street closed up, the gym went out of business. Isn't there going to be a point where everybody who's in the middle, everybody in, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio says, screw these people? I mean, I've had enough civil unrest. It's time to do just the opposite, to say, stop breaking windows and stop.
The latest CNN poll gave me, I've been a real downer on Trump. I've said that I think Biden can win on here many times. That I don't feel as strongly as I did last week about that. After the latest CNN poll, it gave me hope, in which Trump was only down 4 points nationally, but more importantly, in the 15 states that will ultimately decide this election, it's dead even. It's like 49-48. And that gives me hope. And those are the people that, once again, are willing to say out loud to another human being that they voted for Trump. I still feel like there is that factor of people who are like afraid to tell somebody else that they're voting for Donald Trump, but they are. I know a ton of people like that.
I can't imagine anybody. I mean, some Trump supporters, right? You have friends who support Trump. Can you imagine any of those people? Just picture one, one in your mind. I'm my best friend, Bob. He loves Trump. He's a businessman. Obviously, people who have businesses, people who work for a living, do not want Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Can you just imagine them answering the phone and being honest with a pollster? I can't imagine that. I would never do that. I mean, A, I wouldn't answer the phone for some strange number, but B, if somehow I did get cornered, I don't know, at the mall and someone says I'm taking a poll, I would lie to them. Wouldn't you?
No, you would lie. Jerry Callahan would lie. You do a show in which you say you're openly voting for Donald Trump. What are you talking about?
I just think the poll, I feel like they're part of the, part of the rigged game, these polls, then I would,
but
I'm not sure.
Matter. Like, as much as Trump people want to poo-poo polls, they do matter. Like, in the last election, like, Hillary was favored to win by 3. She won the popular vote by 2. They were just off in a 3 or 4 state that really mattered the most, like those Midwest states. So, but for the most part, polls do matter. Like, let's not underestimate them. So this latest Trump poll, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. And I think at some point, I could be wrong, at some point, people are going to say, Joe Biden's really not coming out of his basement. He's really not going anywhere. Trump's going everywhere. And Biden is do you realize that he hasn't taken a question since naming Kamala Harris, since picking Kamala Harris?
And the media, I mean, they fired stupid, like, a reporter asked Trump, what was it, on Friday? Like, do you regret telling so many lies? Like, that was an actual question.
Trump ignored him, which was so perfect. I was waiting I watched it. And I said, where was he? Was HuffPost. And, Huffington, he's calling on a Huffington Post reporter, which means he's not only taking questions, but he's literally asking the enemy to bring it on. Let's hear it. And the guy said, do you regret, lying to the public? And he looked at the guy and he just went to the next question, didn't say a word. That was unusual discipline from Donald Trump.
I think he realizes that these people are gaining something from this. Like, Jim Acosta has become a household name because of this combativeness with Trump. So why are you letting them build their personal brand off of you?
Well, he's doing it for one reason, to draw the contrast, to show the contrast. Joe Biden did that event the other day with Kamala, and I'm sure you saw the video where they chased all the report. They literally pushed, let's go people out of the room. It was obviously in Delaware, because Biden can't go anywhere because he's afraid, but she was with him and they were pretending they had to sign documents. So they kind of ignored the questions. but the media is being shoved out of the room. Now, I know they're all in the tank. They're all there to support their guy, Joe Biden. But at some point, as you point out, these people became stars, celebrities, because they ask questions. At some point, they're going to say, I got a question for you, Joe. I got a question for you, Kamala. And they're going to ignore them. At some point, even their supporters in the media have to say, this is wrong. You got to answer some questions. You got to answer a question. I mean, let's be honest. You have to at some point.
Why would you want him to answer a question though? Why?
Because I'm talking. If you're a media member or a voter?
Yeah, like their goal is to win too. Why would you want to do anything?
Well, they're going to be softballs. They're going to say, Joe, what has enchanted you the most about this process?
Who's your favorite grandkid? Tell us about
By the way, I was reading, and I'm sure you were over the weekend, all about Kamala. It is a terrible choice. A terrible choice. He gained nothing. You saw the polls. There was no Kamala bounce. There's no groundswell of support for her. There's no faction of the electorate that loves her. There's nobody. Think of that. And I've said it before. I mean, in November, just before she bowed out, they took a poll of black voters, and she finished behind Liz Warren. Black voters don't relate to her.
Oh, they don't like her. No.
And California doesn't matter. So if she can, if she gives you California, so what? There's no segment of the electorate that's on board with Biden because of this choice. He gained nothing from this choice. Nothing.
She's Hillary 2.0. That's what she is.
She's a mean girl who gives you that roll of the eyes, and girls don't like it and guys don't like it. She's not likable. She doesn't have any real people that like her. It's identity politics, and they say, it's one. I mean, I guess you could say the New York Times and the Washington Post love her.
She's got she went so radical during the primary. She's the one that came out and said, my pronouns are she, her, and hers. They should just play that.
Right. Chris Cuomo said mine too.
Yeah, mine too. He got in trouble for that.
Right.
So they should just let this woman just keep playing all of her stuff from earlier on, because it speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. And so no matter who we picked, this was going to happen. You could have picked Karen Bass or Susan Rice. They had so much shit because he was handcuffed and having to pick a black woman. I think the safest pick was Amy Klobuchar. I think that was the safest pick. She offended people the least, or Mayor Pete, even like somebody like that. But he couldn't do it because they were the wrong color.
Right. Klobuchar would have been better. She's smarter. I mean, she's
from an important state too.
And she appears to be moderate. She's not. There's no such thing as a moderate Democrat, but she appears to be moderate. Nobody can make the case as much as they tried, as much as George Stephanopoulos tried. The New York Times tried to paint her as a moderate. Then you just look at her record, and she's among the most radical. She's more radical than Bernie Sanders in some regards. She is a hardcore leftist radical who believes in reparations, who believes, Zarniev should vote. She is a lunatic leftist, and that doesn't help Biden. I mean, you're right. He painted himself in the corner. He had no choice. It's all going to, it's over. If there ever was going to be a bounce, he didn't get it. That's a good thing for Trump.
You know what else is a good thing? Going second with the conventions. I think that's a big advantage because there's obviously a convention bounce. I think this convention is not going to go well for them because of the technological aspects of it. The Republicans will get to watch and see what mistakes not to make with the whole, how this is done. And there's going to be a big bounce in 2 weeks from now. I think it's going to be dead even.
And there's going to be 3 debates. I mean, I think there's going to be 3 debates, and they might. I mean, there's no reason they have to be virtual. I mean, you can have no crowd, no audience, but you can't have it virtual because they can stand 50 feet apart. They don't have to be right next to each other.
And you have to assume that a lot of it's going to be pre-recorded, right? Like there's absolutely no reason for AOC to show up at some specific time to do 60 seconds worth of.
I heard it is
pre-recorded. That's true, right?
Yeah, it just makes no sense. So
that's true. Plus they don't trust her to stay on script. So yeah, it'll all be pre-recorded, but you're right. Going second helps, and having a guy like Trump who I don't know why. I like the Gettysburg idea. Why did he change that? He was going to do it at Gettysburg, and they changed that to doing it in the Oval Office, which is another power move, I guess, saying, look at me, I'm in the Oval Office already. I don't understand the people who voted for Trump last time and won't do it again. I mean, there's not many.
I don't know a single person that's like that. I think that's a fantasy that's out there that there's all these Trump people that are like disillusioned with him. I think the exact opposite, Jerry. Like I said, I have multiple members of my family. I come from a big family. I'm the only person in my family, a conservative family, that voted for Donald Trump. They couldn't do it. Like they were too, the grab them by the pussy got to them. They were like, I can't do this. 4 years later, they've all changed their minds, and a couple of them live in Pennsylvania. And I think, I mean, these are anecdotes, but I've talked to a lot of people who feel the same way.
Yeah, well, let's hope so, because it's frightening to think that the people we're going to see speak for the next 4 nights, including AOC and Bernie Sanders, are going to have all the power. If Trump loses, that is scary.
They'll kill themselves for us. Like, we can sit back and enjoy this. Like, they're going to screw this up. It's going to be, that's why they're bringing out John Kasich and people like that.
Kasich,
balance off. Go ahead.
Do you think he has a theme? John Kasich, in the first 30 seconds of any speech, mentions that his father was a mailman.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think he might have a theme tonight? Like, my father was a mailman and Trump is using the post office to steal the election.
I'll tell you what he won't be talking about, Jerry, his stance on abortion, or his stance on, every other conservative issue that he championed for as a Republican governor of a swing state.
It's a good point. It doesn't do anything for Biden. Like I said, Democrats hate him, Republicans hate him. Everyone hates John Kasich. It's a dumb idea, but I guess the goal is to somehow advance this notion that it's a moderate ticket.
Right. They're trying to create the illusion that there's this movement within the Republican Party to leave, like, respectable Republicans, but it's like 10 people. It's like Bill Kristol, Rick Wilson, and the grifters over the Lincoln Project, and that's about it. Right.
And it is amazing. Trump's approval rating among Republicans, I never thought, it's like 96. You never thought that would happen because, guys like me, we didn't love him. We were like rolling our eyes and during the debates, and I was a Cruz guy, and I didn't think it would actually happen. But, like everyone else, he kept, most of his promises. I'm not like Ann Coulter. I'm not going to say that the wall isn't done yet, so I'm going to turn on him. We have a choice. One guy is frightening, Joe Biden, frightening for this country. The other guy, we kind of know what he is. He's a loose cannon. He tweets wacky stuff. He says wacky stuff, but he is, the only hope for the private sector, the only hope for the economy.
They got so lucky with COVID. They got so lucky with it. If there was no COVID, there'd be nothing. It's the number one election issue, and people are blaming all these deaths on Trump, and that's going to be the theme of this all. That he can't. It's perfect for Biden. You don't want to let him out unless he says better. Trump is better when he's out. This could not worked out for them better.
Right. And if he overcomes this, well, we talked about it earlier. God knows what they're going to come up with next. But you're right. If there were no COVID, this would be over. Biden would be wandering in the neighborhood, with his underwear on the outside of his pants in Delaware somewhere, and the Democrats would be getting trounced. But, they got lucky. There was a deadly virus.
It's a winning issue, and it's turning into one more and more by the day, is reopening schools. The more ridiculous teachers get out there and stuff like that. Like, did you see my latest blog on this?
Yes, you got to read the latest blog on TB Daily News about another hypocrite teacher who just wants to vacation to go on forever.
Like this is a union head. She's from the Worcester Tech School, where Obama, by the way, was the graduation speaker in 2014. This is like a leading school in the state. It's innovative. It's a tech school, so a lot of kids there do trades, plumbers, and stuff like that. They all do. They have to. It's a tech school, and she's one of the leaders in the union, and she's not only against insists on remote learning. They're insisting that they not even have to go into the school and broadcast from there alone in a classroom with no because of the HVAC system, the HVAC. So what do I go? Of course, we go on her Facebook page. We see all these pictures of her and like other teachers and a member of the school committee who just voted to do remote learning on her behalf. All out drinking, partying. One woman's wearing a shirt that says social distancing on it. She got people on her lap. I mean, it's like they look ridiculous. The public, when they see that, the average, even a lot of liberal voters, they're like, this is freaking ridiculous. And Trump wants to reopen the schools. It's a winning issue.
And I know, that it is because the Democrats changed their tune. They had, their internal polling, and then you saw Chucky Schumer on the floor of the Senate saying we have to reopen schools. Cuomo disagreeing again with de Blasio, saying we have to reopen schools because they know that's what people are demanding. Democrats, Republicans, it doesn't matter. People know there's no reason. Again, I've been saying it for 4 months. The schools never should have closed. There's absolutely no reason schools should not reopen. Kids aren't going to die. Trump is right. They're not going to get hit, as he says, which is a weird thing to say about football players. They're not going to get hit. And even if they get hit, they'll be fine. It's not an issue. Everyone knows that the teachers' unions are just so corrupt. We've gone over this before, but I tweeted about it over the weekend. The LA Teachers Union will not return to work until they defund the police and give money to illegal aliens.
Yes,
So, obviously the kids are their top priority, the kids. But anyone who has kids knows their kids belong in school.
Do you know anyone who died of COVID, Jerry?
Anyone who's died who do not. No, I know 2 people who've had it, and one guy was in the hospital awaiting a surgery on his brain when he got it, because everyone in the hospital, everyone in his, he had a room with a bunch of other head injury patients, and they all got it.
Yeah.
He barely knew it, and he was fine 2 weeks later. And then there was another guy who got it, and he's fine 2 weeks, a couple weeks later, it was fine.
And we're not saying that it's like a hoax or anything like that. What we're saying is that
not.
you don't know any, like, chances are of you knowing somebody that died from COVID are slim unless you regularly hang out in nursing homes. Like that's
right.
that everybody in nursing homes that knows each other knows somebody who died. Lots of people died. But that's how this is going to go down in the history books, as a nursing home epidemic. And we shut down
and we knew it.
Healthy people.
We knew it early on. Well, after March 25th is when Cuomo killed 6,000 seniors with his order to put them in there. And, we knew it early on that this is how you do it. You isolate the elderly, you protect them. They did it in Florida. They did it in, Georgia, and you let everyone else go about their lives. The latest today, I'm just looking at our friend John Featherston did the numbers today. We had tweeted them out. In Massachusetts, a 1.4% positive rate. There are 65 people in the state in intensive care with COVID. 65. I'm sure they are almost all elderly, and we feel awful for them. But the state has almost 7 million people. 65 people are in intensive care with COVID now. The numbers are plummeting dramatically.
Those elderly people, Jerry, do not want to see children deprived of an education so that they can live 5 more years. I bet you, I don't think they would do that.
I was having this discussion with someone yesterday, and I said, if my father and mother were still alive, they would say, we will take care of ourselves. We'll isolate, we'll figure it out. We will, not go to the mall, or not go to and you go about your life. Don't destroy the economy. Don't destroy this country for us. We will manage. We'll manage just fine. If you don't look at it that way, then you're being pretty selfish. If you say, keep the whole country shut down until the economy is completely destroyed and every business has gone under, because, I don't want to get the virus. I mean, you can do both. We know you can protect the elderly and let everyone else go back to their lives.
Yeah.
That's
it's
clear.
It's kind of like Black Lives Matter, in that, like, Black Lives Matter, a lot of it is white people speaking on behalf, like white suburban women, 40-year-old women speaking on behalf of Black people. With COVID, it's the same white suburban women speaking on behalf of the elderly who never asked for the country to get shut down and protect them to begin with.
Great point. I've been saying that all along. And I think the advantage Trump has at this point is people are figuring it out. At first, they didn't know. They were unsure. They were nervous. Even the idiots out there, even the liberals out there know it now, and which means they're only doing it for one reason now. They're only doing it it's all about November 3rd. That's, if you think schools are going to stay closed forever, no, because teachers unions will be all gung-ho about getting back to work November 4th. That's their goal. Get to Election Day. Stop Donald J. Trump. Maybe Turtleboy. I mean, you can read about that hypocrite, those hypocrite teachers on TV Daily News. Maybe tomorrow we'll get a cause of death for Robert Trump. Robert, how come no one called him Bob? Everyone said Uncle Robert or my friend Robert.
I didn't know he existed.
I know he's got 2 more living siblings. This is his second brother who's died.
The sister was controversial because the sister was on the Supreme Court shortlist.
Right, which would have been wild.
Yeah.
But I love the Washington Post, if you missed it over the weekend, was much kinder to Soleimani the leading terrorist in the world when he died, when we killed him, than they were to Robert Trump in their obit, or in the headline of their obit, which wasn't to be expected. In their mind, someone named Trump is much worse than Soleimani or any terrorist. But maybe we'll find out. And the Democrats, God knows, are praying. They're not praying. They're hoping it's COVID. So then they could throw that in Donald J. Trump's face. But all right, you can read all of Turtleboy's blogs at TB Daily News. And you got an announcement. You want to make it here now?
Oh, yes. The first annual Turtleboy golf tournament will be going off on Columbus Day. It's called Columbus Day.
Columbus Day.
Columbus Day, named after Christopher Columbus, the man who began Western civilization in the free world, in the Western world. They're on Columbus Day, October 12th, in Paxton at the Kettlebrook Golf Club. We will be having our first annual Turtleboy golf tournament. You can sign up for it at Turtleboy Sports. You can. I've linked it on the website how you can sign up for it. For more information, you can email turtleboysportsgolf@gmail.com. We tee off at 10 o'clock.
We get a free foursome, right? Like the show gets its own foursome.
I would hope Jerry Callahan would be there because that's a Monday. That's my day. Why not do it golf tournament?
Oh, we could do it. We could do the show from the tournament and then golf. That makes sense.
I belong to a golf club. And there's a couple members are trying to change the name of the Columbus Day tournament. I don't even know they want, like Indigenous Peoples Day tournament or something.
We could do it afterwards.
And we just laughed. I laughed out loud at this. I saw the email and I just laughed out loud and said, "You got to be kidding me! They want a golf tournament to be called Indigenous Peoples Day Tournament." It's just so stupid. But all right, you can get all that information if you want to play in the first annual you need a better name, Turtleboy Classic or something. You're going to give it a name?
Actually, yeah, I'll come up with a better name. That's a good idea. I need better branding.
Give it something good. Or maybe, you know what you call it? It's really offensive to some people, but it's a good name for a golf tournament. Call it the Masters.
The Master Turtles.
Master Turtles.
Master or something like that. We'll think of something. Right. We'll get our marketing department on that.
Yeah, do it. All right, thanks, Turtleboy, and thanks to Shea Concrete and Allied Paving and DCU, and thanks to who else? Cullinane.
Flagship and Hydrant today. Thank you, Hydrant.
Oh, Hydrant! I've been drinking my Hydrant.
Damn right.
All weekend. I need it, man. I need it. It's great stuff. Thanks to Hydrant, and thanks to you, Cullinane, and thanks to everybody for listening and for rating and review. And Cullinane put out the call to get us. I haven't checked. Did we get to 3,500?
Well, it takes 24 hours to update. So I'm assuming I did see some new reviews, so people listened. So you know, like I said, you just gotta be an asshole to the listeners, and they do what you say. So don't be a dick. Go leave us a review. Goodbye.
We were close to 3,500 reviews over the weekend, and Cullinane asked people to submit them so we could get over that big 3,500 mark, which is pretty good for 7 months. I got to say that. The ratings and the reviews have surprised me how good they've been, and we appreciate anybody who did that. Thanks for listening. I'm Jerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we'll do it again tomorrow.